So two themes, and we're expecting you to choose one of the themes, but it's not impossible for me to kind of envisage you wanting to merge some of these data sets from the two different themes. That's absolutely fine with me. But theme one is wildfires, and I've highlighted the most important source being EFIS, the European Forest Fire Institute, and plenty of spatial data, time series data on their portal. I've just got a snapshot of the data services here. You know, fire danger forecast, fire weather index, land cover types, protected areas, human settlement layers. So you've got that socioeconomic part of the data as well. The data is geospatial in nature, so there are maps, but there are also time series, just like those time series that I showed you of fire activity through the years. So you can choose to work with geospatial data if you want to, but you don't have to if you don't have the geospatial kind of skill set. Interestingly, there's a few live data products as well. So if you have any experience with working with live data, then you can think about how you could bring that into one of the products that you'll be producing. And yeah, so opportunities to produce maps and time series. There's a link here, and I think the link was in the email from Dave as well earlier this week. Second theme is droughts, and a couple of data sets I've identified here that might be useful, but again, you don't have to use the data that we're suggesting, but the water-based data website from the European Environment Agency. I'm just going to click on this now. So here we can see water quantity database in CSV files. If we have a look at what this includes, it's a huge amount of information on reservoir data, reservoir levels, river levels, you name it. There's a huge amount of information in this data set. But also I've highlighted a UK data set from the Centre for Ecology and Hydrology. This is really impressive river monitoring data set, so you can get daily flow data for a whole host of rivers and different points along rivers from the United Kingdom, from the UK CEH. So those are the two themes. I think we've introduced, you know, the reason why these two themes are important, and also why they're particularly timely, because of 2022 being a bad year for drought and for wildfires. So let's get on to the tasks, and you might want to take some notes here, but I'll make sure that Dave distributes these slides immediately after the presentation session, so that you have access to this. So task choice A is a smartphone app concept. So we're not expecting you to build a smartphone app in 3 days. I'm not Elon Musk, so instead you are going to be producing a concept, and the output that we're expecting you to produce is a presentation for you to outline your app concept to us on Thursday in the final session. So we're restricting the presentations to 5 minutes maximum. Now, what I'd like you to consider for your app concept is, you know, as with any mobile phone application, smartphone application, you need to be thinking about who your user base is going to be. Is this going to be the public? Is it going to be the emergency services? Is it going to be civil defense? You can think of various examples here of who your user base or audience might be. I want you to explain in your presentation, you know, what data is the app going to use? And obviously we don't expect you to build your app, but we want you to identify the free and open source data that your app is going to use. And I think that's really important. It's free and open source. How the data source is going to be integrated. So are you going to use 2 different data sources? Are you going to combine them? Will there be any data processing involved as part of the app? Will the app allow the users to process data, or will you only be presenting processed data? I think these are all important things for you to consider. I think we'd like to see an app structure. So there's just an example of this on the bottom right. You know, what do the users see when they open the screen for the first time? Is there a menu? What does it look like if you click through? And is it going to be interactive in some way? Functionality. So are there going to be notifications? You know, these are mobile phone applications. And I've just touched on citizen science here. Are you going to allow your your users, and I don't want to give you any clues as to what I think might be a good idea here, but are your users going to be able to upload data to the app and add data? Could they add photographs? Could they add textual information? Could they add spatial data? You can think here of maybe localized, I'm thinking localized flooding maybe, but also wildfires as well. Both of these have an opportunity here for citizens to contribute data and not just visualize or interact with data. And will the phone sensors be used in any way as well? Optional, because we're not expecting any technical expertise with this particular task. Really, it's about imagination, and it's imagining how these data sources could be used. So this is an optional, how would you actually produce the app? So if we do have participants who are experienced in producing mobile phone applications, you may want to touch a little bit more on the technical side of things. And also, if you are really super and you have loads and loads of time, if you want to produce a demo app, that's fantastic, but we're not expecting that at all. So really, this task is more about the imagination and how you might go about using the data sources that we've provided. Task choice B, I think, requires a little bit more hands-on skills rather than just imagination, because what we'd like you to produce is an infographic. And an infographic, as I'm sure there's some examples on the right here. The example on the right is solar power plants across the world. I just love this kind of spiral diagram, 3 dimensions, using sizes of circles to demonstrate installations. This is, really, really beautifully produced. But here are some kind of simpler ones that were produced on the themes of today's hackathon. So on the top here, we've got the Rhine, which almost did dry out in many places, and demonstrating here that it was at its lowest level in 2022 on the 15th of August compared to all of the previous years. And on the bottom here, this is actually data from EFIS, so one of the data sources that you can work with. This is a very simple visualization, but quite effective, showing the 2022 fires by kind of April had clearly already above levels that you normally see in July or August in 2022. So the infographic, it can be static or interactive. So all of these examples here are static, so built for kind of print media, I guess, or visualizing on a website. But if you want to build interactive infographics using something like Tableau, that's absolutely fine. And basically on Thursday, we would like you to present your infographic. So you'll be sending it to us in advance. But we would like you to talk through the infographic as a part of a presentation. And again, some of the things that you'll need to consider for that presentation are the user base, the audience, or the outlet for your infographic. Who is it built for? Is it going to be for children, for example? In which case, what age group? Is it going to be for students, or is it going to be for the general public? Again, it could be an infographic for the emergency services internally, but I think we're talking about kind of public-facing infographics here. Again, think about whether you're going to introduce any kind of interactivity to your infographic. I can imagine this one here. If I hover, some software will allow you to, if you hover over the infographic, it shows you a little bit more detail. Some of you might be familiar with that software, in which case it'd be great to see the use of that. And finally, in your presentation, how did you make it? How did you bring together the data sources to create what we see in your infographic? So just some examples here. This is all using on the top right and the left-hand side. This is using data from EFIS and also data from the European reservoir level data. Oh no, this is CEH data. This is the River Lewis on the right. And this is just an example. What you can do is look to other places in the world that have these problems, that already have apps or data visualizations, but we don't have them yet for Europe. So there's no kind of fires near me app for the UK right at the moment. So there's an example of how you could look at what other places are doing and then bring that into your ideas for either the data infographic or the mobile phone app concept. Just think about complementary data sets. So we're giving you some ideas here that with the reservoir level, the river level data, the forest fire information data sets, but think about how you could bring other data sets into your app or into your infographic that might complement the drought theme or the fire theme. Obviously, an important complementary kind of problem that comes actually with both drought and fires is problems with air quality. With droughts, you end up with dust, and with fires, you end up with smoke. So in both cases, you might be able to, think of some original idea where you could bring together the fire data with the air quality data. And there are some links here to both European level data at the EU and then some UK data as well on air quality. So what are we looking for? And this is a little bit competitive. It's a friendly competition. But the judging is going to be based on innovation and originality. So how useful or impactful. So useful really, I guess, is related to the app. Impactful is related to the infographic. We want to see some evidence that you've engaged with data, that either the data sets we've provided or data sets that you found yourself that are relevant. And of course, we'll be looking at your technical ability and how that is translated into the concept or the infographic, and also aesthetics and design.